Hello and welcome to Real World Leadership, where we are bringing our best selves to life and leadership. I am your host, Susan Johnson, founder and executive coach of Truth Enterprise Partners. And today at Real World Leadership, we do have a guest speaker with us on the topic of trust. I'll introduce you to our speaker, Tom Endersby, in just a moment. But first, a little bit about me and Truth Enterprise Partners. I am, again, Susan Johnson, and we are a group of folks that believe that leaders can inspire a world where authenticity and diversity and truth are valued. We bring out the true potential in people and in leaders, and we hope to bring out the true potential in you. A bit about the topic of trust and our speaker. You, as listeners, may already be aware that trust and leadership can be one thing that really brings out the best in people and those in which you lead. So trust can often increase followership. It can increase loyalty, extra effort, and increase performance and results. Trust, to me, is really a deal breaker. It makes or breaks relationships. It can affect your integrity as a leader. And I believe it's essential for a leader's character. Now, our speaker today, I have personally benefited from his leadership. I've benefited from him as a trusting leader, and he is our speaker today. His name is Tom Endersby. Tom has been a leader of sales associates. He's been a leader of leaders. He has been exceptional in my life in making a positive impact on me and in my career. And he really represents, for me, what it means to have trust in a leader. He is a CEO of Signature Wealth Management. He's an executive sales leader, an entrepreneur, a leader of leaders, and has a loyal group of leaders that he's developed over the years, of which I am one, and we love and respect Tom even today. He's the author of a book you can get it on Amazon. It's called The 3 Commitments of Leadership, and you can get it on Amazon.com, and he's definitely, in my opinion, a leader worth following. Tom, welcome and thank you for joining Real World Leadership today. What would you like to share with our listeners as part of your intro?
Well, first of all, I just want to say how excited I am to be here and how much fun I've had connecting with you on this topic, which we are both so passionate about. I'm a big believer that our people are our greatest resource, and I can't wait to talk about how to unleash that potential.
Well, good deal, Tom. I'm so glad you're able to join us. As we prepare to dive in, I just want to do a quick icebreaker with you just so we can get to know you a little bit better.
All right.
So just one question from my icebreaker cards. And the question for you is, describe a life experience that's shaped you.
Well, when I was a sophomore in high school, I had a teacher who came up to me. I was in not the slow learners class, but pretty close. And she came up to me and she said, "Boy, I think you have a lot of potential, and I'm watching others respond to you." And she said, "Would you be willing to get involved in our local club, a business club, and maybe run for office as one of the officers?" And I go, like, "What, me? I'm not the guy for that." And she said, "I just really think that you could add some value, and if you'd be interested, I'd love to meet with you after class and talk about it." That day, and through that recognition and the success that came from it, I believed I was worthy of pursuit of the things that I wanted, and that I was going to succeed. And I would say it was one of the great moments. Eunice Swenson was her name, and she was a life-changing contribution to my life.
Wow, isn't it interesting how people can make an impact on people's lives? And that's what leadership is all about. It's that making that impact with people to help bring out that potential in them. And she brought out that thought that you could be, greater than you thought you could even be.
Yes, right
That's
on.
Amazing. So thank you for sharing that story and sharing some insights as part of our introduction. And let's dive in on our topic of trust. So as I mentioned, Tom, your leadership had a memorable impact on me in my career. You know that already. That's something that we've shared over the years. And, we haven't worked together in a number of years, but we stay connected because of that impact that you made on me. And I always thought of you as a leader of integrity. But in order to have integrity, you have to have that foundation of trust. So our topic today is really about trust. And I wanted you to speak about it because I think that's something that you embody. Trust is something that we talk to people about when we're coaching them. It's something that, gosh, it's fundamental in terms of leadership. You have to have trust. Your people have to trust you. You're not going to get them to do anything, right?
Mhm.
So what would you say is your formula for establishing trust? Because I know you did this so well with me and our team. What would you say your
Yeah,
formula is?
yeah. So I would say it starts off with being committed to connecting, to really understanding the people that you lead, and being completely committed to that. If in everything I do, I'm really trying to understand you and hoping that in that process, you'll get to know me. I
Mm-hmm.
think we find a foundation for establishing trust. We'll talk a little later, I'm sure, about consistency and trust. People trust people who are consistent. And I
Yep.
think if we're consistent in seeking to understand the other person, we will end up being understood. And that becomes foundational in establishing trust.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with you. If your behavior is inconsistent, it can't be counted on. There's
Right
no
on.
there's no pattern there. And as individuals and leaders and people, we look for, what can we expect, right, from that leader or that person that you trying to develop a relationship with. So empathy, I think, is important as a part of that formula. How's that play into your thoughts around empathy and how that plays into trust?
Yeah. So back to the establishment of trust, and it'll lead me, I think, to the empathy element. One of
Mm-hmm.
the elements in our book, one of the first commitment is the commitment to clarity. It's this: I want to have clarity when it comes to my understanding of Susan. I want to have clarity in my understanding of our purpose, our process. I want you to find, and this is really important, people find clarity. They find that they trust. You
Mm-hmm.
can't hand it out. So seeking or being committed to myself finding clarity and you finding clarity gives us a foundation where we now understand. And from that understanding, there is a calm. That calm I call stability.
Mm-hmm.
And it is foundational for trust. It's a calm in our relationship because we know. We spend enough time seeking to know. You know darn well I want to know you before I impose upon you something I need you to do. Okay. I want to understand you so that when I expose you to the opportunity, I'm doing it in a manner that considers you. And that isn't only the role you might be in and these kinds of things, but it's also reflecting that I heard you. Okay. That I heard how you felt, that I heard what you said, that I am understanding you correctly. Do I understand you correctly? And when I do, and I commit to those things consistently, and reflect that I heard you and I empathize with you,
Mm-hmm.
it establishes this sense of commonality or stability that really allows you and I to go to the next level of collaboration, and I call it rhythm.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting. This is just bringing up, I'm just reflecting on a lot of things that I've seen you do. I see how you go about it. It totally makes sense. And again, it's been a long time, but you're conscious about it. It felt very natural as you approached. And I think that's something to consider as a leader on how do you go about this and be genuine in the getting to know and finding that clarity about someone where you're seeking to understand and get to know them, and
Mm-hmm.
reflecting back what you're hearing and being able to empathize with them and see them. So can you speak a bit about how do you go about this and be genuine and have it be natural? Because, people know when you're not.
Yeah. So I think it starts out with not imposing your ideas, but seeking to understand the other person. And so you can expose them to your way of thinking or to a point of view. And that starts with what I call an open probe. And you've heard me use this a lot, where I will ask an open question 2 or 3 or 4 times to really have you express what's coming through your eyes. Okay, what's coming from Susan's mind. I want to hear and understand, because if I do that, it's a lot better than me saying, was it 5'6"? Was it purple? Was it green? Was it orange? And trying to drag out of you all these answers versus saying, Susan, tell me what you saw. Fill me in. And then you tell me, oh, I saw this orange thing was about 5'6" and it did this. And from that, I'm able to continue the conversation with that by saying, well, that's fascinating. Tell me more. So I empathized. Okay. And then tell me more. And then you tell me more. And at some point I summarize that and I say, so what I heard you saying was boom, boom, boom. And what I heard you feeling was, am I understanding you correctly? And you go, yes, or no.
Yeah.
And I say, if you say no, I say, well, tell me a little more so I make sure I understand. And it's that commitment to truly getting to that discovery and knowing that then says, Tom knows me. So as we begin to talk, or he begins to relate what it is he wants me to know, it'll be relative to what it is that he now knows. Or as the person wanting you to know, I'll be able to relate it to you in a way that is based upon my discovery that I had of who you are and what's going on with you. And then it becomes like again, this exposing of the ideas versus the imposing of a preconceived notion. I match it. And that matching shows consideration. But it all goes back to, am I committed enough to Susan actually discovering and gaining clarity? Because if I was, I believe that she would be open to a dialogue with me that may lead to a more productive interaction, because I was committed to knowing her before I imposed upon her my preconceived notions.
Right. So love it, Tom. And you're just dropping some nuggets today. So hope our listeners are picking them up and going to be able to apply them. That's what's most important to me. And as we're coaching people, we help people make those connections. And so we can certainly help the listeners with that as well. So there's this thought of giving trust or earning trust. I've heard people refer to it this way. What's your thought on that statement? Giving trust or earning trust?
Yeah. See, I believe that we help people find what trust, that we don't hand it out. We help them find it, because they have to make the choice to trust.
Right.
Okay. And so we have to help them find what it is that they would be willing to trust.
Right.
And I think that's by engaging them in a conversation that is open, that is safe, where when we reflect, so I use open, reflective. So I'm open in my questioning, and then I'm reflective that I understand correctly, with empathy, with feelings. And I think if you approach it in that manner, you will establish trust from both sides. One of the things I said to you earlier as we were preparing was, there's times when I'm scared of the people I lead too, as a leader, because they have a lot of knowledge. They're very strong-willed. They have a lot of talent. And in an effort to try and make it work in my big job with all my role, is I started posing and using my power. It's very scary to be open and listening and truly seeking to understand when you know you have an outcome that you're responsible for. But if you truly believe that your potential of your organization is in the talent of the people who possess the role and the knowledge in your organization, that if they were unleashed to a common understanding in a safe environment where they had clarity of what their role was, and clarity of process and clarity of self, And if you
Mhm.
believe that if they discovered those things that they could make a bigger contribution, then you as the leader are going to be just fine. But it's tough. Leaders have a lot of pressure on them a lot of times, and so they impose because they're not patient. They're not committed to the belief that Susan is the key. Her and her other people like her, if they came together, we are so much bigger than I could ever be, or the
Mhm.
top who gave me directions could ever have been. And that commitment is what it's all about. It's releasing the potential in people, which is what your whole effort as a coach is all about. So
Absolutely.
again, it goes back to these commitments. What are we committed to? I am committed to unleashing Susan's power in the cause we're all here to serve, whatever that might be. Because if she can contribute, and she can contribute with her best, and it's safe enough for her to take risks, we can find a rhythm that will just kick butt. And we've done it, Susan. We've found that rhythm together before. We have
Absolutely.
kicked butt, and it's an amazing feeling.
Yes. And what you did in that moment, is really leverage your leadership and mobilized a group of talented leaders to, mobilize a group of talented people to mobilize.
Oh, yes. And the multiplication is crazy.
Right. And that's the exponential growth that we're talking about. And it's natural for some to kind of approach leadership in that, kind of taking that position of power versus thinking about empowering their people and unleashing that potential in others to help accomplish,
You
what
know,
it is you're trying to grow.
yeah, one of the things that can happen when I'm seeking to understand and I unleash this power in you, you're going to recognize you have a lot to contribute. I can then come back in the relationship and I can say, Susan, so I have this role where I need to kind of herd the cats,
Uh-huh.
and I've got all this talent, these cats running around, all this potential. Okay. And I'm going to need to ask you to come along with me. And there's going to be times where I need to hurt us or bring us together around commonality, but that's not meant to stifle you. Can I count on you to come along with me when I need to play that role? And you
Hmm.
can say, yes, I can. I understand. That's one of your burdens. Great. Because as soon as I can, I'm going to go back to letting you run around. Okay. Because that's where your potential is. But from time to time, I need to herd you. Is that
Right.
okay? And I
Right.
can ask your permission. And you'll say, darn right. Why? Because you trust me.
Yes, and that's another important point about, when you're working with adults, you need to ask versus tell. We're all grown people and no one wants to be told what to do. And that's another concept that we coach a lot of people on is, the asking of permission and would you be open to, and gaining their commitment, and helping to build that trust, because trust is not given, like you said, it's discovered, and people will
Yes.
know when you're genuinely sincere and really caring and concerned about them, and are interested in what's important to them. And
Yeah.
then when you build that you build that clarity, you build that common understanding, and you build that commitment. So let's talk about commitment,
Mhm.
and this thought of commitment being unwavering. Talk
Yeah.
to us about that.
Yeah. So to me, when someone says I am committed, that's an unwavering focus. Okay. It means you can't knock me off my mark. It means if I get knocked off my mark, my eyes are still on the target. Okay. I can adjust my angle, but I'm still focused on the target. Okay. And it's that consistently coming back. It's
Mm-hmm.
consistently coming back to knowing you. If you and I ran into an obstacle with each other, and that happens, we're human beings,
Sure.
and I didn't seek to understand you or hear you out, okay, I would be inconsistent and you would begin to distrust. If I actually was consistent in seeking to understand where you were coming from, and I could then say to you, so can I share with you where I'm coming from? And you would trust me enough to let me play my hand without feeling imposed upon, that we were coming together to figure it out. And as soon as we found that commonality in each other, we would seek clarity, which is the best answer. And if the clarity is, I can't make a different decision because I've got powers above me, I have to follow a process, I can't get up from underneath it. Now we told each other the truth. Now we can start from there.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's about coming back to that same thing, which is I believe Susan and her peers have more to contribute than I could ever bring myself. And if I can have them bring them their best selves to this puzzle and give their best potential, we are going to achieve so much more than I could have ever mandated. I just can't wait to follow you as a person I'm supposed to be the leader of. You know, remember our theme used to be personal growth. Do you remember that? That if we could all personally grow, everyone around us would benefit. So we were all committed to everybody's personal growth. And every
Yeah,
time you turned around, it was about, is she growing? And if she's growing, we're winning.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You got to be about your people and be about their growth, being about their empowerment, giving them clarity, seeking to understand, agreeing and committing to, what's important, reclarifying and circling back when necessary,
Consistent in
and
all
doing
of
that
that.
consistently. Yes. So talk to me about consistency.
Right on.
Consistently doing that. So, all of this consistency, builds trust, it builds character, it builds integrity. So this consistency is it again the behaviors that we see as in that leader? Is that how you would describe it, or would you describe it in
No,
another
I
way?
would describe it as that. And I think it comes back to commitment. If I'm committed, I'll be consistent in that focus. When I'm
Hmm.
consistent in that focus, you can match up. You have clarity about me. You now know what I'm all about,
Hmm.
and where I'm coming from. And you have that clarity, which gives you a stability in our relationship. At least you know who I am. That's a
Sure.
calming element. Now you can begin to deal with me,
And
you
then
know?
I'm going, I know Tom. I know this about Tom. I'm comfortable. And that's a stability that, leaders need to foster in a
Yes.
genuine way, caring for their people so they know what to expect and they can get behind that and support
And
that.
on the other side of this, Susan, on the other side is that collaborative rhythm. That
Hmm.
rhythm when when you're dancing and you just know the other person's moving, you know what I mean? Or where
Hmm.
you are on that team where there's just you're in a zone. It's like playing basketball, making a no look pass, and somebody says, "How'd you do that?" Well, I just knew he'd be there. I could feel him. I knew
Yep.
where he was going to be. We've done this a million times. It's the rhythm that comes when you aren't caught up in trying to figure out where your feet are, what play you're running, and where you have enough trust in the other person that they'll fill the hole. They'll
Yep.
fill the gap because we have that relationship and there's a stability in our togetherness that we are willing to take risk from, and that's where that rhythm comes. Is when we all start truly allowing each other to contribute.
Hmm.
Can't wait. I mean, I just
And,
can't wait. I wish you and we need to start a business.
and you know what? It's great when you have that and the whole team is in that rhythm, not just a few
Yes.
people on the team, but as we're working to coach leaders, it's connect with each of your people, find out their who,
Mhm.
find out what makes them tick, connect with them on it in a genuine way. I mean, that curiosity, longing to, seeking to understand is how you phrased it,
Yes.
and they will connect that you care. They
Yeah,
will
you'll
connect.
be understood. You'll be understood when you seek to understand. You don't have to I want you to know something about me. No, no. You will seek out what I want to say when I understand you.
Yeah.
You know, it's
And
like
they'll
if
they'll
you
want to know more about you,
right
because they're,
on. If you
they're they're
ask a
trying to
person
feel
a
you out
hundred
to see
times,
if
so
they can
tell me a little
trust
bit
you.
about you, what are they eventually
Absolutely.
going to say? They're going to say, tell me a little bit about you.
Exactly.
I get to be understood. It's not rocket science. Let's be
Yes.
committed advocates to
So,
understanding each other.
yes, and you make it sound so easy, and again, it can be, and that's what we're coaching and teaching to make it easier on the leaders and not have that monkey be on their back and to
Yeah. Well,
really,
there's some little tricks and techniques in our book that
for
you can
sure.
use, but there's also, people like you, Susan, who will stay with someone long enough
Hmm.
to learn it and discover it. You
Hmm.
know, sometimes you got to have somebody who will hang in there with you long enough till you find out, till you can discover it. And
Hmm.
I think people want to be a great leader, who want to be a good coach.
Yeah,
can benefit from somebody giving them leadership and coaching. And I think
absolutely.
that
Thank
your
you.
advocacy for people's discovery of what it takes to be a good leader is going to unleash the potential of people to be their best. And I just think it's wonderful what you're doing. I can't wait to spread this beyond the business world and watch you unleash the potential of people in our country, frankly. I think there's just
Yes.
a lot to be unleashed, and I know you're committed to it, and that's why I'm here today.
Thank you so much.
But
Well, I appreciate those comments, and that's what we're on the move. We're creating a movement of leaders. They can be themselves, be authentic, and build capacity within people and bring out the potential in them, so they can then build a movement in other people. So
right
thank
on.
you, Tom. I mean, we talked about a lot today, and we can talk for days for sure.
Yeah.
We talked about building trust, developing caring for your people, clarity, commitment, consistency. But what would you want to leave our listeners with as we wrap up this conversation on trust? Anything you want to leave in final comments?
Yeah. People's potential is untapped. And if we truly believe that, and we see our role as being someone, as leaders, someone whose job it is to unleash that for the benefit of the cause, whether it's the organization or the community or whatever, if we can commit to helping to unleash that potential through techniques and things like we've talked about today, a commitment, a belief that people have a lot to contribute,
Mm-hmm.
we can change a whole lot of things. You can pick it out. I don't care what it is. Give me a problem. Let's go fix it. And we can do that by, or an opportunity. Let's go get it. We can do that if we believe that people have the ability to be so much more than they are, and that we as leaders can help to unleash that instead of impose process on them. Unleash their potential and capture the process they create. Okay, that's just where it's going to all go. And so I just hope that people realize potential is unlimited in all of us and in the world we live in. Don't be trapped. Pursue seeking to understand and commit to other people's potential, and great things will happen in everybody's life.
Couldn't have said it better. Thank you so much, Tom, for sharing your wisdom with us. It was a pleasure. And as we prepare to close, just a reminder, at Truth Enterprise Partners, we help individuals and leaders discover their true potential with consulting and coaching. We certainly use our tools and our expertise to help clients develop trust and integrity, as well as other techniques or issues that they might be working on as relates to their leadership. So to find out more about us, you can reach us at truthenterprisepartners.com. You can certainly email me directly at susan@truthenterprisepartners.com. We also are on Instagram and Facebook, or you can call me at 612-237-1559. And you can get Tom's book at Amazon. And you can reach Tom at signaturewealthmn.com. Email him at tendersby@signaturewealthmn.com, or phone number 612-208-8654. So again, it was a pleasure to have you here with us, Tom. We thank you for your time and your insights and the nuggets. Hopefully there are a couple of nuggets that folks can take and run. If they need any help applying those, we'd be certainly happy to help. And thank you for sharing your views, and thank you all for listening and joining in as well. This has been Real World Leadership with your moderator, and I'm your leadership guru, Susan Johnson. We look forward to connecting with you all again real soon.